Hello and welcome to Home Media Minefield presents Let's See What's Out There Loki, a weekly video stream and podcast currently focused on Loki, which is Marvel's show, which is available to watch on Disney+. In this episode, we're going to have a spoiler-filled conversation around episode 1, Glorious Purpose, as well as other areas of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So with that spoiler warning out of the way, I'm Keith Isles. I'm an independent filmmaker and lifelong enthusiast of cinema and television. And I am joined today by some guests, internationally. So first, my co-host for 52 episodes of the Let's See What's Out There podcast. Please welcome Pete Mealy.
Hey.
Hey, Pete, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to get back to talking about nerd stuff with you.
It feels like it's been a while, doesn't it? Since the last one. Also coming back by popular demand is the director of the web series Rebecca Gold and the self-named mega geek himself, Ian David Diaz. Hey, Ian.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Glad to be back for another one.
Yep.
Good.
Definitely.
Also, we've got another Avenger from this side of the pond joining us. We have filmmaker Clive Ashenden. Hey, Clive.
Hello. Hi there.
Back for more, eh?
That's right. It's about time. Well, this show is anyway.
It is indeed. It's very much so. And we'll get into that. Now, you people watching probably think to yourself, oh, look at this. It's a typical bloke, heavy, geeky podcast. You know, where's the females for this? Who's going to be representing them? I'm really pleased to say that we have one in the form of filmmaker and documentarian Claire Bueno. Hey, Claire.
Good evening. It's nice to, be recognised as a woman.
Identify as.
Nice to add a little bit of diversity.
Exactly. We
Thank
need
you for the invitation, Keith.
That's all right. I know we tried to get you on a couple of the Winter Soldier. Sorry, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier podcast, but we couldn't get you on at the time. It didn't work out. But we had the other side of your film producing and directing duo join us on a few of them. So that was good. The big brother.
You did, the big brother who knows much more about films and the Marvel Cinematic Universe than I do. So I'll just put that out there now. But yeah, so you had the useful one before, but I will try my very best, and I really did enjoy Loki. So I think
Great.
That's as much as I can say about Falcon and Winter Soldier. It was good at the end, so it's probably good that I wasn't on.
All right, fair enough. Okay, well, all opinions are valid here, and we do like to have a conversation about this stuff. Before we get into it, if anybody out there is watching or listening to this for the first time, then welcome. While you're here, once you've listened to this, obviously, please check out the other work on this channel. There are a number of videos on there, nearly 100 videos. So we'd appreciate it if you check that out. And if you are enjoying this, consider giving this a like, giving us a thumbs up, and maybe even subscribing to the channel if this is your sort of thing. So we really welcome that. But first things first, Pete, I know you usually like to give us a brief synopsis of this week's episode. So take it away.
Yes, and I do want to just reiterate the spoiler point, because there's going to be a lot of spoilers, not just for Loki in here. Yeah, okay. So We pick up right where Loki disappears in that scene from Endgame. But before he can do too much, he gets picked up by time cops who run him through some bureaucratic hoops. And meanwhile, Owen Wilson investigates a time murder and tries to set the timelines right. We show up then at Owen Wilson shows up at Loki's trial and takes responsibility for the prisoner, saving Loki from being erased from time. Owen and Loki review Loki's past, but then Loki does some mischief, runs around for a bit, and then takes a peek at his future, where he gets his mom killed and then gets killed by Thanos, which warms him up to when Owen Wilson proposes that he helps them stop the time murderer, who it is revealed is also Loki. And then credits.
There you go. Very concise as always. I like the fact that you referred to the character of Mobius as Owen Wilson for the whole thing. No, that was brilliant.
That's it, isn't it?
It is, of course, Mobius named after a Mobius strip, right? Which is a eternal time loop kind of thing. So there we go. This week's episode was written by Michael Waldron, who is the showrunner for this entire series. Michael's previous work includes Rick and Morty. So, very, very good at the sort of comedy geek type stuff. And he is also involved in the writing of the upcoming Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So he wrote this episode. And then this episode was directed by Kate Herron. Kate's previous work includes 5 by 5 and the TV series Sex Education prior to being on board for directing this season of Loki. So there we go. More new names and faces in the world of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Disney Plus. So good stuff. All right. Well, before we get into anything, let's just talk, or let's just start off. What's everybody's feeling on the schedule here this time round? Because normally we run this as a live stream, but because it now goes out on a Wednesday, it's a bit more difficult for us to do that with timings with the different side of the Atlantic and whatever. So what's your general feelings on that, folks? Did it bother you that it was on at a different time to what they did with WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Oh, what, like Wednesdays being the new Friday, so to speak?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know, I think what was nice about WandaVision and the Winter Soldier and all that is that on a Friday, it gave you something to kind of, the weekend was here, wasn't it? Especially in lockdown, it gave us all something to look forward to.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree.
I don't think it makes any difference these days, does it? Because people can just watch it anytime they want, so really doesn't make a difference.
Is there, but if you kind of don't want to, if you want to hide away from social media, you know, do you know what I mean? You kind of have to see it when it airs, unless you care about, spoilers getting out there. So,
yeah, no, I know what you mean. Definitely.
So I don't know.
Any other thoughts, Clive, Pete? Did it bother you guys or?
That's a no then.
I don't know. My thought is that surely it seems the only reason why this isn't going out on a Friday is because the Bad Batch is the Bad Batch going out on a Friday?
It was. Is it still running? I'm not too sure. I
don't know. It seemed. I don't know. That was a thought, but it's fine. It makes life a bit more complicated for us.
It's still coming out.
That's fine.
It's still coming out. Yeah, there's going to be a new one on the 11th. It says. Okay. Sorry. I understand the change, right? Of doing it on a Wednesday. I think that they're playing around. They want to see how are people consuming in the new media environment. Is it going to make a difference that it drops on a Wednesday versus a Friday? I'm sure they're monitoring the social media feed. I'm actually just more interested in it from like the experimental view, the thought, the theory behind it. I'm curious to see, what's the difference. For me, it doesn't make a difference. I watch TV on Wednesday. I watch TV on Friday. Yeah, I'm open.
Fair enough. I just thought that would be an interesting point to start on, just to see what you guys thought. Claire, before we get into it, you did hint a little bit into this in your intro, but as you've not actually been on one of our streams before, I just wondered what is your sort of thoughts on the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Marvel Comics and whatever? Have you got much history with that? Are you a fan or a casual watcher? Where are you kind of at with it?
I'm definitely a casual Marvel Cinematic Universe watcher. The only probably real reason I've ever watched any of them is because I have reported, as you know, Keith, on the red carpet, and more often than not, I've been at the premieres of these, which is, no mean feat. So I will have watched them because of the nature of my work rather than being an enthusiast. That being said, I am a film enthusiast, and so I think what Marvel have been able to achieve in the cinematic universe with how all of these films all interlink and all the storylines, fit within the canon of whatever, I think is just a huge achievement of something obviously that we've never seen before. And I think from that point of view, I think it's amazing. And I also like that they've given a lot of people that are not necessarily known, a platform as well. Who was Tom Hiddleston, who was Chris Hemsworth before Thor and Loki. I mean, we knew who Robert Downey Jr. was, but that they've also given a platform to a lot of unknown people as well. I do think they get a nice balance between spectacle and story as well. So when I'm watching it, I'm enjoying it. Do I necessarily run out to watch Marvel stuff? No, I wouldn't. But I have to say, what I've seen, I have enjoyed as an audience participant.
Okay, and are you up to? Have you watched like most of it, or are there films and shows that you've missed?
I think I've probably missed like Doctor Strange. Wasn't fussed about seeing that, and gosh, I haven't seen who's the Black Widow. No, that's not out yet. Who's the other one?
Yeah, nobody's seen that yet.
Yeah, nobody's seen. There's a few I've missed that. There are a few I've missed out on. I've been watching the series. I really enjoyed WandaVision. Winter Soldier, I really wanted to enjoy, but I don't know. They could have been shorter. And this new series of Loki, this episode I've seen, I've really enjoyed. But I haven't seen every single Marvel film.
Good choice.
No, fair enough. But mileage varies, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for me, like Thor is still my favourite Marvel film. That's for me, Shakespeare in space. I love Kenneth Branagh, and that for me, is that to me is still my go-to Marvel film if I feel like watching a Marvel film.
That was a good one.
Yeah, well, and I'm glad.
Sorry.
No, carry on.
No. It's just that there's a simplicity, but it was more about feuding families and the complexities between, brothers and fathers and sons and the whole adoption thing really for Loki that. So yeah, I mean, I love anything that Kenneth Branagh does, to be honest. If there's any Marvel film, that's the one for me, really.
Yeah, No, here. I'm a big Branagh fan also, but I'm really glad that you mentioned Thor and everything, because of course that was where we got our introduction to Loki anyway. And for those of you watching this in a video stream, there's a couple of pictures there of the Norse god that the character is actually based on, and that Marvel took those characters and sort of formed the Thor story and created Loki. So as you can see, could have looked quite different to Tom Hiddleston.
That is actually, because he looks more like Thor in that picture, doesn't he, Loki? I mean, in the sense of like his muscle mass and body mass. Yeah.
So were any of you, Clive, I know you're a bit of a comic guy. Were you into the Thor comics and Loki and whatever prior to the films?
I'd read some Thor. I'd mainly sort of been aware of him through the Avengers comics that I'd read, though. So I knew who Loki was. I'd read comics with him in, but I haven't read like the standalone Loki series, which has been fairly the recent one, and so I don't have a great deal of comics background on that. But you spot a few references here and there, but yeah, like all the time variance authority stuff is all new to me. So which is nice to watch a Marvel show and not be a sort of cast ahead too much with it.
Yeah. What about you, Ian? I know you've been sort of in and out with Marvel comics over the years. What was the Thor comics anything that you ever got excited about?
Not really. I used to read them when I was young. I used to read them Thor when Thor was Don Blake, when he used to have that stick and he used to bang it on the ground and he became Thor. But then they changed all that, didn't they? I think he's laughing. Peter's laughing.
I read those too, and they were so weird. It was so weird. He was a disabled professor or something,
so,
right?
Yeah, he was a doctor.
But then when he tapped his walking stick on the ground,
became
he
Thor
turned into the mighty Thor.
Yeah, the mighty Thor. Yeah, but I read that. I know a bit of the history behind this version with the three. I call them the three lizards, but they're not really lizards in the comics. They've changed a couple of things in this episode, as far as I can tell, a few things. But as far as I can see, they are kind of sticking. Oh, hello! Did she fall over?
Sorry, I've got fallen over.
Okay.
There we go. Sorry.
As far as I can see, they are following the narrative of the comics, but slightly changing a few things slightly. But that's as far as I mean. I haven't read all of it. I haven't read all of the comics connected to that story, because I know She-Hulk was on trial by the time cops, and then I think the Fantastic Four escaped from them in one episode. I don't know if Clive had ever read Fantastic Four, or you guys read it, because Fantastic Four got caught by them and apparently they were guilty. But
I didn't read that run of Fantastic
all right,
Four.
Mr. Reed Richards figured out how to get out, and they got out basically. So I mean, I know about them. I think they've changed it slightly by adding this. Somebody's got a hard on for 60s TV shows for some reason. It followed through in WandaVision, and now we're back with 60s cartoons and stuff like that, isn't it? And the decor is very 60s, isn't it? The lights and you have all the analog stuff and all that. Someone at Marvel really should get out more. But it is what it is, right? So yeah, I used to read it. I stopped.
Fair enough. What about you, Pete? Have you got any history with this sort of thing, you or Barbara?
I haven't talked to Barbara about it, but I'm sure she'll join a future episode and fill us in. I only read sporadically around Thor. I don't know. I feel like the Timekeepers were in a Green Lantern run that I read. Maybe.
No, not. It wasn't Green Lantern.
I was going to say that's DC.
That's DC, and they had a simple. They both copy each other, don't they? Marvel and DC copy.
Yeah, they copy each other. So I think I remember something similar in the Green Lantern, but
Yeah.
also just like I never really engaged with the Timekeeper's timeline. It sounded like, it felt like a way for them to justify.
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
It's just like justification, and my feeling is like I don't need justification if the story's good enough.
Yeah.
So stop trying to cover your mistakes by doing justifications.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Now, I must admit, I didn't. I've, like most things, I've come into this through the movies here. My only real exposure to Thor prior to Branner's film was, dare I say it, there was a TV movie based on the Incredible Hulk television series that was made about a decade after that finished, called The Incredible Hulk Returns, and they had him team up with Thor in an episode of that, and it was very similar to how you described, Ian, with the alter ego that would sort of summon Thor.
Is that the one with Daredevil as well?
Yeah,
they did one with Daredevil as well. Yes, they basically made sort of 3 reunion movies in the late 80s.
I think the guy played
Johnson wasn't involved in any of those, so they weren't quite up to the quality of the TV show. But it was always good to see Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno, So.
As I said, I think the guy played Street Hawk played Matt Murdock. I think
that's right. Yeah, Rex
Smith.
Smith, who was Street Hawk, played Matt Murdock, and he had a black costume in that.
But
anyway, I'm getting off topic here. I'm well aware of that. So to get into this, then, obviously, there he is. We had Tom Hiddleston as our lead character there. Loki, as first appearing, as Claire mentioned, in Thor, and has obviously been in all the Thor sequels, and of course the Avengers films, which I think that shot on the right there is actually from the first Avengers film. So, what do we all think about Tom Hiddleston and his portrayal of Loki? Are we all fans?
Yeah,
he's all right.
Yeah.
No, I think he's a fantastic actor who's really, versatile. I've seen him in theatre, and sort of, and I've kind of got to know him over the years professionally, because I've interviewed him on several occasions, and he's really a nice guy, and I think he's got a great range as an actor.
He's good at doing impressions, isn't he?
Yeah, he's great. But I mean, even he demonstrated it even in the episode last night. The range in it, how quickly he can kind of change his kind of mood and way of thinking and everything. And he must, he knows the character inside out. Whereas he's been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah, wow, 10 years.
Yeah, it's a long time.
I don't think I could picture anybody else playing him, really.
Yeah, he's good. He's good, as good as Loki. It's really good as Loki.
Yeah, no, he is. He's. I've had the pleasure of meeting him as well, and he was incredibly nice and friendly, and not at all arrogant or really nice guy, to be honest. Very witty and whatever. So I'm really pleased for him, because he's certainly living the dream, isn't he? So a
bit of jealousy there, Keith.
No. I actually think it's good. But I think if you're in a property like a Marvel property, you're pretty much set up, aren't you? Let's be honest.
More or less, I guess.
Yeah.
Even if you get killed off.
Is that with his, with him playing kind of the baddie, antagonist, whatever you want to say, it appears to me, and again, I'm no expert, and you can all correct me, but he is more than likely the most popular character out of, in the cinematic universe, because he's the one. I'd say.
I think Robert Downey Jr. is. He's probably the most popular.
Yeah, but he's not an antagonist, is he?
Oh, you mean antagonist?
He's a protagonist. Yeah.
Sure, but he's not going to be an antagonist anymore if this show keeps going the way it goes. So
Well,
He'll be the anti-hero.
They implied
Yeah.
that he might be both, but we'll come on to that, right? They implied that he might be the protagonist and the antagonist. But yeah, certainly I would agree with that in terms of Marvel with their antagonists. Let's not say villains, because that's a bit one or the other, isn't it? But with their antagonists, they've had a bit of a sort of patchy history in the films, and I think in terms of consistency, probably Loki and Tom Hiddleston's performance has been the one, hasn't it? So yeah, cool. All right. By the way, is somebody just sorry to interrupt this, but is somebody typing? So you can hear clicking. No. All right.
I think it's actually Claire. Do you have headphones or no?
I can get some. Hold on.
That's all right. Let's
hang on.
Don't worry. Let's push on.
I'm going to do an Annika Wright now. Is the crackling me not wearing headphones?
I think it's because it doesn't happen when you're talking. So I just think it's your microphone picking up us talking.
Okay.
There you go. The beauty of live.
Apologies.
The beauty of live. Right. Well, let's I guess we should start digging in. Oh, that's much better. Yes. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay.
Oh yeah.
No, thank you for letting me know. I could hear crackling. I didn't know it was me. Oh God, you could probably hear me without a microphone with my phone.
No.
Anyway, no worries. So if we sort of pick up on obviously the episode itself or the premise of the show, of course, picks up from what was one of my favorite bits of Avengers Endgame, which was where they did the time heist, if you like, of the Infinity Stones. And of course, we see this scene where Loki picks up the Tesseract and disappears. And they kind of pick the show up from this very point, don't they? And I think there's a few minor changes in there of perspective and whatever, but I think they use quite a lot of the footage from the movie as well. What did you guys think about this in terms of setup?
I thought it was done pretty well. In terms of like place setting, letting us know exactly where this timeline is branching off. To use the terminology of the show, it also seemed like an amazing. Or I don't know, it seemed like they really relied heavily on just reusing stuff that was already shot for a lot of this first episode. And that goes into, like I said, when we get further in, the stuff that he's doing. But, we needed to know exactly where it started off. And I think they didn't let us go too far down, a wrong path or anything. They didn't mess around.
Yeah. Anyone else? Anybody else have thoughts about this?
I don't know. I thought that the actual episode itself was a bit slow, and also it's very complicated. If you don't know, the history behind the comics and stuff, obviously, you won't guess what's going on. But I did. But I also thought it was they could have simplified a couple of things as well. But they've changed a couple of things. I was looking at some video today where they say they added that shot where he waves to the Hulk in the lift.
Yes,
so that shot was added apparently. And it also moved the shot where he changes into Captain America and takes the Mickey out of him before they move him into the lift. Apparently they moved that shot, whatever, and stuff like that. Overall, it starts off really well, doesn't it? You're wondering about him. He gets. Oh, the thing that made me laugh, right, is when he takes the Tesseract and he appears in the desert. And then he gets up and he sees those people and he tries to talk to them. I don't understand what he's saying. There's a rock specifically for him to climb, to step on and go, I am Loki. I thought that was quite funny, actually. That rock was just there so he could actually stand up on it and point at them saying, I'm Loki. But that was I don't know whether that was deliberate or, whatever. But but for me, it started off well. I was interested from frame one, I guess. Lots of Easter eggs in there. Some I didn't even notice. Somebody told me, but there's tons of them, isn't there? I was saying that bit in the beginning is to mirror Iron Man when he's in the desert or something like that. I don't know. Somebody told me.
That's right. When he first uses the suit, and
that looks a lot like that scene. Yeah, that's a good callback. I missed that. Yeah,
and also what Loki says there is the same as
yes,
line he uses in
Germany.
When he turns up. So I've only had a chance to watch it the once, unfortunately, but I do want to go back because I'm sure there's loads to unpack in this in terms of Easter eggs and whatever. Clive, what were your thoughts on this bit?
My thoughts were that they did what they needed to do. They did show us a lot of things we'd already seen if you've seen the MCU, but obviously I appreciate they've got to set this stuff up and remind people who haven't watched the films for a while as well. But it also, initially, I was like, my heart sank a little bit just because it reminded me of like, oh yeah, this is the Dick version of Loki, right? This is the before the redemption version. So it's like all the hard work that Tom Hiddleston's been doing, all the arc, they've just kind of chopped all that off and they've gone back to he's just a sort of, he's just the god of mischief, just a pain in the ass. But then, then they do some things later in the episode to sort of make you a bit more sympathetic with him after they've humbled him a bit,
Yeah. Well, he got to see as well, didn't he? The that version of him in the future. And where his demise would be. I mean, he actually did get to see that, and I think that kind of changed his perspective a bit in this episode from what I remember. But it was good. What about you, Pete? Any nitpicks with this part?
No nitpicks here. I think I gave my nitpicks that they might have leaned a little heavily on reusing stuff, and I think Ian said it well. It was a little slow. I think the bureaucracy stuff that they got into, it was like it seemed to be one joke sort of over and over again about bureaucracy, sort of like what is it the little bit of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy in there and stuff like that. It was fine. It was fine.
Also, another thing, and this is just a little thing as a filmmaker, the beginning scene where Loki's in the desert and stuff like that, you can tell he wasn't there. You can tell they use that effect that they use in Mandalorian where they have the screens and stuff like that. There's something about that shot. It looks processed. It doesn't really look, they don't look like they're there at all. But that's just a nitpick of mine, a small nitpick of mine. If you look at Star Wars and you see Mark Hamill walk out and look at the two suns, he's actually there. You can feel he's actually there. But with these scenes here in the very beginning, it just feels processed. It doesn't feel like he's there. But as I said, that's a small nitpick of mine. Just forget I said it. But there you go.
No, fair enough.
I think it's quite interesting as well. I'm sure you all picked up. Tom Hiddleston's also executive producer of this too.
Yes.
So I wonder whether, how much say he's had in this evolution of his character.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess what happened is that they said, he said, well, I don't agree with that. And they showed him the check that he was getting. And he thought, I agree with that. That's probably what happened,
Yeah, second thoughts. That's
yeah,
fine.
second thoughts. That's fine. Yeah, so there you go.
I do think it's
I'll cry for that one,
it's a good, if you looked at just the movies in the cinematic universe, Loki does sort of undergo this crazy transition from absolute villain to somewhat of a likable anti-hero, right? And so I think this show is going to be retroactively showing us how that came about. Yeah.
I mean, this is not the Loki that we know, because the Loki that we knew took that journey and got killed by Thanos. And but this is the Loki that did all those adventures with I think with Thor, and from that point on, that's actually no, that's not true.
No,
he's the Loki. Yeah, you're right, Clive.
Yeah.
Go on, say it, Clive.
I was going to say, because he watches like stuff from Thor: The Dark World, doesn't
right,
he? Where his mum gets killed. He does.
Yeah, so he's the Loki from the beginning when he attacked New York, which I think Pete pointed out that they reset him now, that he's gone back to being the jerk Loki. But I'm assuming this whole adventure that he's doing now is gonna be reverted back to nice Loki, I guess, by showing him where he's going wrong.
They try and restore the flow of history. But one of the things I kind of like what they've done with these Marvel TV shows, actually, and I guess it started with Avengers Endgame, is suddenly they made what many people think is the worst film in the MCU, which is Thor: The Dark World. They've made it really important.
Awful. Yeah. I remember sitting in the cinema watching that thinking, why am I here? You know what I mean? I was just like, what is this? It's just nonsense. But anyway, whatever.
I know that it was supposed to be a spoiler for Thor: The Dark World, that he had a hand in his mother's death, but I was genuinely surprised. I guess because I had stopped paying attention at that point in the movie. Yeah. When I saw it and never went back to figure it out. But yeah.
Do you think so? I mean, maybe just stop me if I'm jumping ahead, Keith. The DB Cooper thing. A lot of people don't know about that, though. Which I
really?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know about that. I mean, it's really
it's
odd.
Huge in America.
Well, in England it isn't. But
I have to say, the reason I always knew about that was, and this is a really sad link here, but I was a big fan of Prison Break. And one of the inmates in Prison Break, many believed was DB Cooper.
Yeah, DB Cooper. Yeah.
And he never admitted it or not. But I think that was when I kind of looked into my, contemporary American history and found out who DB Cooper was. To be fair, but that was quite.
Can you enlighten me? Sorry.
See, there you go. See, I rest my case.
DB Cooper is like an American sort of legendary person. Back when airline hijackings were a real thing. He's one of the few hijackers who nobody figured out who he was. He escaped with the money, and he did escape, like they show in Loki, by getting the money and then jumping out of the plane with a parachute.
Okay.
And the only thing that's ever been found confirmed is that this happened like in Oregon, so west coast of the U.S. The only thing that's ever been found is like $5,000 ended up washing up on a riverbank like 3 years later, and somebody was like, "Oh, this is the DB Cooper money."
It was like in the 70s.
Right.
Was it in the 70s? I believe
it was in the 70s. Yeah.
And I have to say, I thought that was one of the scenes in this which was particularly entertaining. I don't know about you, but I did think that that airplane part was quite fun.
I hope they don't do that again. It was a one-shot joke. I hope they don't make him Jack the Ripper or something like that. He was Jack the Ripper. Do you know what I mean? And stuff like. I hope they don't do that, because then the joke would be overplayed. So, but we'll find out, right, as the show goes on. Yeah.
I think the DB Cooper thing, it was sort of ambiguous enough that it kind of worked. But I totally agree. If he starts becoming like all these famous people throughout history
that weren't caught,
all of a sudden that could be a bit. I mean, that turns into a different show altogether, then, doesn't it?
I also, the DB Cooper thing didn't really, like, it was a funny sort of like haha moment, but it didn't make sense to me because I was like, why would he need Earth dollars? Like, what?
No, it was a bet, wasn't it? It was a bet that Thor bet him something, and the money didn't matter to him. The money didn't matter to him. You know what I mean?
It was just bravado, wasn't it? Bravado. But what I find interesting actually is I wanted to get him on the stream actually, but a friend of mine actually started watching Loki and hasn't seen any of the Marvel films, and I was like, he really enjoyed it, and I was like, really? And I find that fascinating because I think to myself, obviously with these shows, they do want to try and capture as broad as audience as possible and attract new people to the material. But I find it hard to think how this show could work on any level if you weren't familiar with the other films. But
it's going to be
interesting.
It's going to be magical mystery cop, not a cop. Like all of those different shows where, like Castle or Lucifer.
Yeah, you're calling a specialist. You're calling a specialist.
It's going to be like Lucifer. That TV show Lucifer, right?
Yeah.
Where there's the superstar cop who's a little bit different than other cops. Yeah, and then there's the bad boy assistant.
Yeah,
the consultant with poor
the consultant
skills, isn't it? That's
am I the only one that was looking at this guy's nose all the time?
Oh my gosh,
weird nose.
Like 3 times.
Oh, geez. What happened to his nose?
He doesn't say. They think it's a football accident, but he doesn't talk about it.
Oh, okay.
But I was like, it
seemed like it got a scar. There seemed like an even bigger scar on there.
It seems like it's a Tyrion Lannister type thing where somebody cut off half his nose. And,
it was quite distracting, and I know it's not an awful thing to say, but it was, wasn't it?
It was.
You think makeup would have sorted it out, unless there's going to be something further down the line that we'll find out.
But his nose is like so definable. Like,
I think that's part of Owen Wilson's characteristic, right? And part of what makes him and unique and fun. I mean, what were your thoughts on this character of Mobius in this episode? Are we digging it?
He's just playing himself, isn't he?
Yeah, that's why I referred to him as Owen Wilson. Like, there's very little acting going on here, right?
Exactly.
It's just him doing his thing. But I will say, like, we didn't get a ton of him, you know. So we got to give the show time to develop and stuff. But these first, 10 minutes, it's like, this is what Owen Wilson looks like when he's outside of the normal timeline.
Yeah.
Well, and remember they worked together as well on Midnight in Paris, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
That's right. Yes, they did. Which is a great movie, by the way. If anybody out there hasn't checked that out,
Woody Allen.
That's amazing.
Woody Allen film, very good, very well made, and a neat little story. So check that out. Also, maybe I'll have to do a home media review of that at some point.
I think it's he's well cast though, because he's such a friendly. He comes across such a friendly person and someone that would forgive someone as well. So when he goes up to the judge and he goes, just let me have him, blah blah blah, whatever. You believe what Owen is saying because of the many films that you've seen him in. So he's well casted that character, definitely, in my opinion.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Those things together are very good. I mean, for me, what I preferred out of this series and WandaVision was the same, that I felt like, apart from the last episode of WandaVision, it felt that those are like character driven more than I prefer character driven stories rather than lots of people flying around in the air fighting each other. So
that's what Marvel's all about.
I'm simplifying it, which is what Marvel's all about, I know, but I actually like the fact that those scenes between like Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston's, like kind of dancing with each other on screen. Really, I really enjoyed that. I found it quite compelling.
Yeah. I mean, Owen Wilson is very charismatic, and I think him and as is Tom Hiddleston, and I think that they had quite a good kind of, bounced off each other quite well. Had a good sort of character chemistry, and this could be a lot of fun moving forward as we explore it.
It also makes you also makes you wonder at the ending as well, when he was sitting down and Owen Wilson comes in and he says, I can see, and he was like confessing that he didn't really want to hurt anyone. I wonder whether the trickster is there, whether he was saying that because he wanted to be out of the situation, or was he being really honest? That was the question there, wasn't it? Because Loki's he's a trickster, isn't he? So was he saying that just to get out of that problem because he knew there was no way out, or was he being honest? That's the question. So we'll find out, I guess.
A mischievous little git, and as I said, not bad considering he was killed in Infinity War.
Infinity War, yeah.
So we did say spoilers for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, by the way. Okay. Clive, I was just wondering, have you got Owen Wilson, this character? Have you got any strong thoughts either way on that?
Well, I think Loki's a character that works best when he bounces off other characters who are, like opposites to him, right? And it seems like of the characters we've met so far, that Owen Wilson's character Mobius is the one where that's the most interesting dynamic between the two. And I enjoyed the scenes between them. I thought that it was well written. The whole kind of him sort of psychologically kind of trying to get under his skin and sort of poke him and sort of get a reaction from him. And I thought all that worked really well, but it does feel like, what it is, a pilot episode, first episode where we're just sort of laying the groundwork, and it's not entirely clear exactly how that dynamic's going to work, but that's fine. I'm interested to see how it goes forward, and he's always fun, Owen Wilson.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I just wish they moved it faster along this episode. Again, it suffers from being too slow and and being too complicated. They could have simple up things, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. I'm sure a lot of people enjoyed it and didn't think it was.
How long was the episode for?
I believe this one was about 50 minutes, 52 minutes, something like that. Less credits, obviously. So about 10 minutes. No.
Yeah, right.
But talking of which, I particularly like the way they did they made the Marvel Studios logo green with the gold tinge and whatever, to kind of match the show like they've done with the other shows. I do like those little flourishes.
There's some small little touches in there as well. Like, I don't know who that guy is, the Chinese guy.
Casey?
Is it Casey? But
Eugene Cordero.
Do you notice his pen was leaking on his socket?
On his pocket, yeah.
When I was watching, I was like, I'm sure that's a mistake. And then as it went on, I came to the conclusion they were doing it deliberately. I was like, okay, well, it's deliberate, right? So, And also, the bit where that robot undresses Loki, I'm pretty sure that a lot of women swooned there when he was, that arm covering his private parts. I'm pretty sure you did.
I think you worked out before that scene, don't you?
Yeah, you probably did. Yeah.
I think so. We didn't expect that, did we?
Well, it's, as I said, I like this episode. There's a lot of stuff in there. There's too much stuff in there, actually. Too many things going on. As I said, I had to watch it twice to try and really figure out what was really going on. You know what I mean? I know the comic book, but I watched it twice. I watched it twice because I knew I was going to be on air. So that's why I watched it twice. So there you go. But
I wish I had.
Pick up things.
Yeah, like the clocks. The clocks have loads of arms on them. You know what I mean? I noticed that because when he was signing, first time I watched it, I didn't notice the clocks. But when Loki was signing the thing, I noticed the clock. I was like, how many arms has that clock got?
Yeah.
So there's little things like that. And I remember watching some YouTube video and they said that Stan Lee was in it somewhere. And I don't think I spotted Stan Lee anywhere.
I didn't see him.
No, yeah, he was. I think he's in one of the paintings or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things. I mean, props to the production design because they've kind of gone with this sort of retro analog look
again.
To this. I guess again to sort of talk about linear things and linear time and that kind of thing. But even when they showed New York at the beginning in the year, they actually used that kind of analog clock type. I don't know
Mm.
what the name of the font is, but you know, they did that very much analog thing, which matches in with everything else. And I do kind of like this sort of retro, almost kind of Gilliam-esque type look.
But it's not like
kind
that
of
in the
remind-
comics, though.
Wasn't it like The Shining?
Yeah, a bit.
Yeah,
It looked
yeah.
to me a bit like The
The
Shining.
same colors.
that color
That kind
scheme
of
with the
surrealist.
orange.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like that in the comics. That's what I said. I think somebody's got a hard on for 60s decor and 60s
Right.
cartoons in Marvel, because it's twice now that's happened between WandaVision and this. As I said, it's not like this in the comics at all. It's very different. So, but there you go.
No, I mean, that's the beauty of it, you know, that they're creating that world. But did anyone think I did enjoy? Obviously, we had them in WandaVision, and now we had them the sort of Miss Minutes sort of retro video that they had that sort of explained everything when he was in line, and it kind of reminded me of obviously a big fan of Jurassic Park when they did that sort of Mr. DNA cartoon thing to explain, you know, the dinosaurs and whatever, and I thought that had a very sort of reminiscent feel to that. Did anyone else think that?
Now that you say it, I see it. I just remember thinking, oh great, another exposition cartoon.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. When I was watching it, I was thinking, okay, they're going down this route again, are they? You know?
I think someone quite famous did the voice for that.
Yeah,
which I should have looked up.
Tara Strong.
Tara Strong, yeah.
Who's Tara Strong?
It's done a
Teen
lot of
Titans.
comedy stuff.
Okay.
A lot of voiceover.
Okay.
Yeah. She she's done things like Teen Titans, Powerpuff Girls, you know, those sort of things.
All right.
Mortal Kombat.
So another
She's
thing I was
currently the
puzzled.
voice of Rocky J. Squirrel.
All right. Another thing I was a bit puzzled about was that they were saying that he broke the timeline. He created an alternative timeline, Loki. And we know that Captain America went back and he put all the things back in time. But didn't he break the timeline as well by staying with Peggy?
Well,
why is he on trial?
Well, this is one of the things I think they could explore here, because obviously in Endgame, before he went back, he said that he was going to clip all the branches, right? Because obviously, as was explained in that, you know, and they did it a few times in this as well. When they change the timeline, you know, you get multiple branches that come off that. Essentially, it's like in Back to the Future 2, right? So, I'm wondering whether that might actually get addressed, because that was one of those things that was still left a bit of a mystery after Avengers Endgame, and this is one of the, you know, and this show obviously does take place after that, doesn't it?
But by staying with Peggy, that is branching off into another reality, because he didn't come back to his. So why isn't he on trial? Why is Loki on trial? That's the big question. Maybe they'll address it in the last episode, or maybe they won't. You know,
I think that they addressed it in this episode.
And what did they say? I can't remember.
When they said, well, that's what the Time Lizards decreed was his path, but it's not what they said was your path to Loki.
That's a bit of a cop out, isn't it? So Loki
it is absolutely a cop out.
It's a huge cop out. So, but anyway, whatever.
Fair enough. But as the slide is here, we also met a few of the other, what I'm guessing are going to be regular characters in this. So we had Gugu Mbatha Raw there, who played Ravonna Renslayer, who again I think might be a character from comics. Yeah, is that right?
Yep, she is. Yep.
Cool. And then we had Wunmi Misaku, who played Hunter B-15, who was obviously tracking Loki down and you know.
Yeah, I don't know that character. Yeah, I don't know that character at all. But I know the judge. She's quite powerful, and in the comics, she falls in love with a villain or something like that, and you know, it just all gets out of hand and stuff like that. I remember reading that when I was a kid, or was I a teenager, or was I in my 20s? I can't remember, but yeah, I remember reading that a long time ago. So I know that character is going to become something more powerful.
Yeah, I kind of felt like there was a hint of something between her and Mobius in that scene.
Yeah, I didn't like that line though. Oh, I love looking up at you. It seems appropriate. I thought, what the fuck is that line all about?
Yeah.
But there you go. So yeah, it's a yeah, whatever. I'm not even gonna go down that route. So carry on.
Clive, have you got any light that you can shine on any of the other characters that we've met in this?
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm not massively familiar with her character, but yeah, I think Ravonna Renslayer, there's a romantic relationship with Kang the Conqueror.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, which they say is behind her. That character's behind her.
And I did. Oh, that's interesting. I did notice that in the Jurassic Park style cartoon, that of the sort of 3 time lizards, do you call them?
Yeah, well, lizards.
The like one of them looks like how Kang the Conqueror is classically depicted in the comics, with this sort of purple face and green helmet kind of thing. So and we know that we've got that he is supposed to be appearing in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Yep.
Right. So whether it's just something they're nodding to, or whether we're even going to get like something which is going to directly feed into that, who knows? So
no, it's interesting. They're definitely trying to sort of link these. I think there's a lot of Easter eggs in these shows that are going to connect to the movies that are coming, as well as the movies that we've had, and that's no bad thing. Although obviously it's a lot of stuff to track, isn't it? I definitely need to watch this again to try and pick up on some of the other things. One of the things I did wonder is we saw the cat when he's signing away all the words he's ever uttered in his life, or whatever it was. Would that cat be, do you think, a Flurkin?
Who cares? That's all I can say. That thing should never existed. In fact, that Captain Marvel film should never existed at all. I'm sorry.
Disagree.
I just thought that was the worst Marvel film ever. It's obviously the reason why they made it. Just forget it.
You're forgetting Thor: The Dark World.
Oh, that one too. That one too, Pete. That one too.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Captain Marvel cannot be the worst movie ever, because there is Thor: The Dark World.
I think they're both the same parallel.
Oh no.
I hate.
We'll watch them again.
Absolute nonsense.
But I think the cat. I'm partial to the cat. Yeah.
And also, as I said, I was watching some video today. They said that the guy that was signing, he had a picture of the cat on his cup, on his mug, apparently, of the same cat on his mug.
Yes,
so,
there's nothing wrong with that.
I did notice that.
No, I'm just saying.
There is just so much stuff to unravel in that production design, isn't it? I definitely like the way that when he played audio, it was on a reel-to-reel tape, and then when he played the film stuff, it was on actual film. And I was like, I'm really loving the fact that they're going with that sort of retro analog linear thing, which I think feeds nicely into the theme of this for sure. But so does anybody have any idea at all where we're going with this? Obviously at the end we end up in 1858, right, in Oklahoma. Is Loki, or is this going to be Madam Loki, or do we have any sort of theories on that?
Well, they say it's going to be a woman,
about them bringing that back. Yeah. There's going to be another series, isn't there? That's already been commissioned, I believe.
Oh, what, of Loki? Yeah.
Loki, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, if those three know the timeline, how come they can't save some of their agents? They get burnt up by. If they know what's happening in time, how could they allow their agent? I don't understand. That's where it gets a bit complicated. How could they allow their agents to get killed if those 3 lizards and those people that are in charge know the timeline very well, know the predestined? How does that work? Maybe they'll explain it in a couple of episodes. How is this new Loki walking through time and killing the detective, the agents and stuff. How is he doing that?
It's what they're saying, that everything, there's supposed to be a natural flow to everything, but then you get these variances where people alter the timeline, and their job is to, it's a little bit like the
Adjustment Bureau.
What she explains to Hulk in what the Chosen One explains to Hulk in in my brain today, in Avengers Endgame, is what I'm trying to say. It's kind of that's kind of how I'm understanding it. But
well, as I said, it's complicated. It really is. As I said, if they know time and they know the natural flow of time, they'll know that Loki female, whether it's going to be female or male, is killing off their agents. So why aren't they? Anyway, I won't go there. It's going to blow my brain. My brain's very small. So there you go. But yeah.
So has anyone got any theories or anything in particular about anything to do with this episode that you guys want to say while we're still recording the stream?
I've got a question for the group, which is, did anyone else think that the time variance authority is too powerful? It's like I quite liked the scene where you saw the Infinity Stones as paperweights. That was quite that was quite amusing. But it kind of slightly undercut this episode, because they're so powerful. You sort of felt like, well, it doesn't really matter what Loki does. He's just a puppet, right? Because they've got all the power. They're outside. They're controlling the entire multiverse and putting it into this sort of straight line. And it's just like, okay. Because one of the things I like about Loki, the character, is he's the god of mischief. He's the agent of chaos. He's a shapeshifter. He's gender fluid. He can become whatever. And in this, he couldn't do any magic throughout the entire thing. He still managed to get up to a bit of mischief, which was fun. But it's sort of, it clipped his wings, and I mean, maybe it's too much, and it's already quite a sort of surreal, strange setup in this new, Kafka's the Trial meets Brazil meets Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, world that they've built, But I did think, okay, well, unless they're setting this up in order to undercut it, which they probably will do, because drama.
Well, it underlines what happens though in the movies, because in the movies you were so taken aback by the Tesseract and the gauntlet and all that, and then just to see those things are paperweights and the big square thing is nothing but a big square thing, it just undercuts the seriousness of the movies that's gone by. That's how I felt when he was talking about the paperweights. I didn't laugh. I just went, "Oh, that's how I felt about it." I didn't think it was funny. I just thought, yeah, well, after everything that was said and done, it was predestined. It was predestined. So, and it kind of demeans what went in the past. That's how I felt.
I think we've got 6 episodes in this season, and it looks like these are going to be longer episodes if this one's anything to go by, more towards the hour than the 30 minutes that we got with WandaVision. And let's see where it goes. I mean, all they were really trying to do here was set up the world and the concepts and introduce some of the characters that he's going to be sharing this journey with. And I have to say, I'm totally on board. I'm captured and I'm interested enough from episode 1 here to be quite excited to follow this each week and dig into it with you guys if you want to. no pressure.
I mean, ultimately, did it transport us, and were we entertained? And I was. I finished watching it thinking I really enjoyed that, and I was totally into it. with or without him being naked.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. Yes. No.
What I'm hoping is that through this series, we know that he's the god of mischief and all of that. And what I'm hoping is that we're going to see different facets and exploration as we go deeper into his psyche and his evolution. That's what I'm hoping that we're going to see.
I'm actually slightly worried by a point that Clive made when we were talking about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I think it could be true for this as well, is that when you get to the end of these things, basically everything will be set back to how it was, so it doesn't matter if you didn't see it or not. You know what I mean? It's going to be like a circular adventure where, you know, he does this, but at the end of it, time is restored and you can watch the next movie without having to have the knowledge of this stuff as well. But hey, as long as the journey's entertaining, that's good, right?
But you've made a very good point, though. That
it might be the fact. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, Claire. Sorry.
No, it was how much do they want? How much of these series are a tool to get you to buy Disney Plus, as opposed to
completely? It's completely a tool to get that. Basically, at the business level, you know, Disney wants subscribers and they want you to stay subscribed to that, and that's the model now. But if they can do that in an entertaining way, I have no problem with it. You know, I'm totally on that. But we'll jump on that bandwagon. You know.
so really, the expectation is that if you want to continue following the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you know, and you know, bearing in mind we're all going back into cinemas now, are we saying that if you really want to follow it, you have to watch Disney Plus if you want to be able to continue with the stories? Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no, I do. Sorry, Pete.
Oh no, I was going to say, like, I think that's not a problem that is limited to Disney Plus. You know, I mean, we just made fun of Thor: The Dark World, right? But like, they had to tell those stories in Endgame, in Infinity War, and now in Loki, knowing that people like myself didn't enjoy Thor the first one. Sorry, Kenneth Branagh stands. But didn't enjoy it, didn't really watch Thor the Dark World, and then only because they got dragged to Thor Ragnarok are they back in it, right? And so, like, I know what happened in Thor Ragnarok. I've seen that movie a bunch of times. I'm not 100% sure what happened in those other movies, except Kat Dennings annoyed me and Natalie Portman barely showed up, right? Yeah, I'm just throwing shots everywhere. But I think saying, like, oh, they've got to be careful with this TV series because then it's going to mess with the timeline, that's not new for Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know, they need to be able to tell the WandaVision story knowing that a lot of people didn't watch Doctor Strange.
Yeah, which I didn't.
I was going to say Claire being one of them.
Yeah. And
I'll just be more unpopular here and say Doctor Strange is one of my favorite Marvel movies.
I like Doctor Strange. I like it.
Yeah, I think you might enjoy it. It's a weird trip. I will say that.
Yeah, just don't watch Captain Marvel. Absolute bollocks.
Okay. And again, I disagree.
I'll give that.
I knew you were going to do that, Pete.
Clive, have you got any thoughts on where you think this might be going, or whether it matters where it's going, or how you feel about it anyway?
I mean, I think obviously they identified that, you know, that this villain that Mobius is tracking is another version of Loki. I highly doubt that that sort of other Loki is the big bad. I mean, you know, partly there's that thing of why aren't they showing the face of this other person? Is it because it's the female Loki? Is it because it's, you know, or is it because it's just someone, or is it just someone like wanting it to look like Loki?
Yeah, maybe it's Agnes all along.
Maybe. Maybe.
Maybe it's Kat Dennings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Samuel Jackson.
Just to spite Pete.
Just to spite
Yeah.
me,
Yeah. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Nothing,
Ian, Ian, I know when we were towards the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier, you said you were about done with it all, and when I was almost surprised when you said you were going to join us on this, because I thought, oh, are you done with well, you kind of implied you were a bit over it all, but has this regained your faith?
No, I still feel this way. I still feel that that Marvel has basically done what it's supposed to do, and this is just them trying to keep it alive. I mean, this episode was okay. It was just meh. That's all. It wasn't great or anything like that. I thought it was okay. I watched it because I'm going to be on your stream, but also I'm going to be on Dan's stream as well on Saturday, talking about this very first episode. So that's why I had to watch it, basically. So, I mean, but as I said, I think Marvel's really hit their peak now, and whatever they do is just going to be seconds compared to the 10 years that they ruled the cinema in those 10 years. So,
So if it wasn't for being a popular live streamer, Ian, you wouldn't be bothering, is what you're saying.
I probably wouldn't. I mean, I could live without Marvel now. I think Marvel's done its thing, and that's that. And it ended Endgame for me. That was the perfect ending for this. And now they're trying to introduce, secondary characters like the Inhumans and stuff. I don't even know. I never used to read the Inhumans, and I'm not excited about where Marvel's going now. Okay. If I feel like going to cinema to see it, I might do, but it's not like the 10 years that gone by where a film can't say you got to go and see this. You got to go and see this. It's just completely changed now. Anyway,
I understand what you're saying, and I mean I agree that Avengers Endgame was a wonderful conclusion to that saga. It was great, but you know what? If they can tell entertaining stories, which so far we're one episode in, but I'm entertained, so I'm quite happy for them to keep doing this.
Do you know what? I just like to bring something up. Somebody said something to me a couple of days ago, and I went, "Huh?" They said, Thanos, he basically wanted to cut the universe in half because there wasn't enough stuff to go around for
resources.
Yeah. So why didn't he create more resources by snapping his finger?
Oh no, wait, it gets even worse. If you think about it, he was trying to save resources, but there's like too much sentient life, but he killed half of all the animals too, which is half of all the resources.
Exactly.
Thanos
exactly.
was an idiot.
So that's what I'm saying. It didn't make any sense. Somebody said that to me, and I went, huh? And also, it equates the Raiders of the Lost Ark thing. If he didn't go for the Ark, it wouldn't have made any difference anyway, because if the Germans did find it, they would have got destroyed by it anyway. So that journey was a big waste of time. Indiana Jones shouldn't have bothered, really. Yeah, it's like that, isn't it? So,
actually, here I'm going to tie it all back together here.
Yeah, go
on then. In a neat little bow. The point with Raiders of the Lost Ark is that it was a fun journey.
Yes, I know.
Right?
I know.
And so that's the same thing here, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Keith, right? Is that if they can tell a fun journey, then I'm fine with it. Yeah, I think that they've in this sort of I guess it's technically phase 5, but we should call it phase 2, 4, I think, right?
4, isn't it?
Is it 4?
Yeah, I believe it's 4.
Yeah.
I think.
In this next phase,
anyway,
the first era of Marvel had some ups and downs.
Phase 1 and 2.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. And so now we're in the next era, and there's been some ups, there's been some downs.
Yeah.
There's been some. I think Loki here, episode 1 is very middle of the road.
Yeah. It is.
And so this is this is the part where they stood up on the diving board, and we watched them walk up to the diving board.
Yeah.
Now we got to see, like, are they going to do it,
or are they going to flip?
Are they going to flip?
I for one would love to go and play in that Marvel sandbox. You know what I mean? So, so good on them is what I say, and keep it coming. Okay, if we're done with talking Marvel and Loki, one thing I do want to ask each of you before we bring this to an end is,
Okay.
I just wondered, is there anything else that any of you have seen, film, TV series, mini series, whatever, that you want to recommend or say anything about? Ian's got his hand up already. Go for it, Ian.
Right, so there's a show called Travelers. It's quite old. It's
Ian
the guy that was in Will and
Eric
Grace.
McCormick.
Yes.
Eric McCormick.
I recommend that. It's as far as I was concerned, it's really good. Might not be for everyone, but it's really good. It's on Netflix. But it was also a show I'm watching, which is a kids show, but it has adult themes in it as well, called Sweet Tooth. Which it's about a world.
That to
yeah,
me.
it's quite good. The first 2 episodes are, but then as it keeps going, you kind of fall in love with the kid, and you kind of fall in love with what's going on and stuff like that. And it's very, very kidified, but it's really for me, it's enjoyable. You guys might not like it, but if you ever get a chance, on Netflix, it's on Netflix.
That's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, just briefly, it's about a world that basically this pandemic happens. And people start dying, and suddenly kids were born half animal, half human. So Sweet Tooth is half deer. So he's got these antlers and he's got these ears and stuff like that. And his dad tried to keep, and then there was factions trying to kill them all off because they believed those kids were the cause of the pandemic. So there's all these people trying to kill them all off. And Sweet Tooth's dad hid him from the world, and then he dies, and then he has to go out into the world. He's looking for his mum, gets helped by some guy trying to protect him and stuff like that. You know the score. But when it comes to the violence, they kind of disguise it because they know it's for kids. So when he kills people, you don't really see him kill people, but it's still effective.
And is that a show or a film?
It's a series. A series. Yeah,
that's cool.
So I recommend it, but it might not be for everyone. You know, I think it's quite good.
Well,
I haven't seen all of them. I think I've episode 5.
Okay.
So yeah.
Clive, I know you've seen some movies recently. I wonder whether there's any that you want to recommend to our audience.
I have. I've been watching at a bit of a cinema return to the cinema fest day, which is great. So yeah, if you like your horror, if you're into the Conjuring movies, the latest Conjuring movie, The Conjuring: The Devil Made Me Do It, is fun. It's not the best one, but it's good fun. Quiet Place Part 2 is a worthy sequel to A Quiet Place. So yeah, those are good. On the TV series, very quickly, I will say I've been watching a bunch of like quite poor superhero TV series, stuff like Jupiter's Legacy and Titans.
I like that.
But I really enjoyed Invincible.
Yeah, I like that one too.
That's the animated one, right?
The animated series that's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
okay. I thought that was really
not
I think
for
that's
kids.
really good. No, the violent. Okay. It's very violent.
Violent, yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. Claire, what about you? Any film or shows or anything you want to recommend?
Put you on the spot. The town remembering Ghostbusters.
Oh, that one. Yeah, I've heard that's decent. In fact, I know
that's a marvelous documentary. That's Blu-ray available on Blu-ray in the United Kingdom and Crackle in the United States.
Oh.
And check out the Blu-ray review on this very channel.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Apart from that complete work of art, what have I been watching? A documentary series, I think it's called The Cecil Hotel.
Oh yeah, I watched that.
Yeah. The one in LA, is that right?
Yeah, that's really good.
Okay.
I saw an Eric Bana film the other day called I think it's called Deliver Us from Evil.
I saw that.
I enjoed that.
Yeah,
and it's based on kind
of. That's
a
few
events.
Years old now, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it is a few years old. Yeah. Off the top of my head, they're the only two I can think of.
That's okay. Yeah, no worries.
I'll know for another time.
Yeah, no
do my
worries. I
research
kind
later.
of threw this in there unexpected for you. Pete, what about you? Anything that you want to rave about? That you've seen?
Yeah, I've been watching. I don't know if it's in the UK, but there's Hacks, this TV show Hacks.
Yeah.
It's on HBO in the US. The season finale just dropped. I think the same day as Loki or the day after. So I watched that, and I got to say, I love that whole series, start to end. It's 10 episodes. It's poignant and it's funny, and yeah, it's a
Who's in
ride. Gene Smart
Oh, yes.
and Hannah Hannah Erdeberg.
Oh, right. Okay. I've never heard of it. But,
No, that's good.
Is it British?
No, it's very American, I think.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
In fact, yeah, it's very American.
Mm.
Cool. Actually, you saying that has made me think of another one actually to recommend. So I totally concur with Clive, by the way, on Quiet Place Part 2 and Conjuring and etc. But you've just mentioned Jean Smart. She actually was in a series called Mayor of Easttown, which is an HBO show that's shown on Sky Atlantic here in the UK, starring Kate Winslet, and that's a crime mystery show, and very good indeed. Very intense drama, good performances. So I would recommend that one. Sorry.
No. Just you made me think of it there. You know what else is on HBO in the US, and I wonder if you can get it in the UK, is a very intelligent documentary about DB Cooper. And so I'll say that if you don't know, I'm trying to look up the name of it quick.
Does it star Tom Hiddleston?
It is called The Mystery of DB Cooper. It is on HBO in the US. It's an 1.5-hour documentary. And it tells so much of the story in such detail that I will say that when they shot that scene in Loki, I went, "Oh, he's on the wrong side of the plane."
Okay.
So
fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, check that out. Another one I want to recommend, which I watched. It's a BBC drama, a 3-part drama. So essentially a 3-hour movie, but split into 3 parts, called Time. Nothing to do with the time that we're talking about here. It's actually a drama starring Sean Bean and Stephen Graham, and it's a prison drama about a man in his 50s that has to serve time for manslaughter, and Stephen Graham plays the prison guard. It's actually directed by the guy who did that show Des with David Tennant. So that's really good. That's on BBC iPlayer at the moment. That was recommended by my good friend Tony, whose birthday it is today, by the way. So happy birthday, Tony, and thanks for that recommendation. It's really worth watching. And finally, one that Ian recommended to me that I really enjoyed on Netflix is a film called Oxygen, and it's kind of, I don't know whether you remember that film with Ryan Reynolds called Buried, where it was just him in a coffin with a mobile phone. It's kind of a similar premise, but it's a sci-fi one with a woman in a cryogenic tube with an AI that she's talking to. It's actually a French film, but that was very entertaining as well. So I just thought I'd throw in some recommendations of other stuff, because we're always talking this genre stuff, but there are shows like Mayor of Easttown and Time, which are dramas.
It's hard though, isn't it?
Really
it's
good.
hard to find anything. When you're on Netflix, there's so much stuff to watch that you just end up flicking and just end up going, I'll give up. You know what I mean?
It's just like saying, I'll watch Star Trek Enterprise again. Yeah.
Go back to watching Bram Stoker's Dracula and Zodiac and all the classics.
Yeah,
love Zodiac. Yeah.
Can I throw out?
Great film.
I was told there's numbers. I was told there's numbers that you can punch in that will bring up all the action films and all the comedies and stuff like that. And there's not actually numbers you can punch in. So yeah, I have to find those numbers. So because you'll be searching forever looking for stuff. It's crazy.
True.
Anyway, sorry.
Okay.
Pete, you going to say?
Oh no, I thought of one more recommendation. Sorry, and it's not TV or movies. It's comic books. Netflix had that Old Guard movie with Charlize Theron. They're putting out a new run of the comics, and I picked up the first 2 issues, and they're amazing. And so I really recommend. It's like Old Guard stories.
Cool.
Check those out. They're fun.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, before we bring it to an end, if people want to find more of your work or get hold of you, how can they do so? Let's start, ladies first. Claire, you've already plugged the documentary.
Yeah, find us Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Ghostbusters Doc, and also my online movie interview channel magazine called Premier Scene, where I interview up and coming filmmakers and very established filmmakers as well. So yeah, Premier Scene and Ghostbusters.
You've got some great content on Premier Scene. So yeah, definitely check that out, folks. There's some really good interviews on there. So what about you, Clive?
If people want to check out some of my short films, they can go on Vimeo and search under my name, and they will find a lot of my most recent work.
Fair enough. And Mega Geek, what have you got going on?
Okay. Well, I've, as everybody knows, I've got a web series called Rebecca Gold, which you'll have to do is type Rebecca Gold in the YouTube channel. But I have 4 feature films. 3 feature films I have on a Vimeo channel. I have 1 horror and 2 thrillers on there. And if people want to watch it, they could always message me, and I'll give them the link. The reason why I'm going through that is because I had Bad Day, which is a film I actually wrote, created, and directed, and produced, and whatever. But someone put a copyright strike on it. A film that I actually made, and actually directed, and actually wrote, and actually created and edited. So, and I couldn't be bothered to contest it, so I pulled it off YouTube and I put it on Vimeo. So if anybody wants to watch my films, they just contact me and I'll give them the link.
So people can reach you at the Mega Geek, is that right?
Or on Twitter they can reach me at Ian David Diaz on Twitter. Okay. So
I'll try and remember to put some links in the show notes to it for everyone. Pete, what about you?
Hi. I'm here with Let's See What's Out There, the podcast, and we will have new shows coming soon. I promise. I apologize for the delay.
No worries.
And so you should.
and if you're here, you're already obviously on Home Media Minefield, so please check out some of the videos if you're into physical media. DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, UHD, that sort of thing. I do unboxings and reviews and comparisons of that, as well as talking about home media technology. So please check out some of that work. If you want to check out some of my filmmaking, you can find that on another YouTube channel called British Isles. That's EYLES, as in my last name. And there's half a dozen short films there that I've made. Any feedback or comments, welcome. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, then please, as I said, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and please join us next week where we'll be talking about episode 2 of Loki. But for now, thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next Let's See What's Out There Loki. Bye for now.
Bye.